Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition of the Korean StarCraft League, the KSL week number 41. I'm, of course, host Live VIP, and with me, I'm joined by the lovely people in the chat, by my plushies, and it's been quite some time. It's been, what, 8 hours since our last broadcast. WTL went on so long last night. It was like a 7-hour cast. I was not ready. I was not prepared for a 7-hour WTL cast, but it was amazing. It was beautiful. I highly recommend checking out the VODs. Really good matches, really cool insight. We got some interviews with some of the players. Ooh. And now we have returned with your weekly dose of Korean StarCraft League. !B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the bracket yourselves. A lot of matches are ensuing, and we have our first PvP before you. And spawning in the top right hand corner of Solaris, we have the red Protoss player from the land of South Korea representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the blue Protoss player. Currently teamless, was at one point representing Maturino, currently looking for a team. It is NightMare. Here we go again. The bracket is live. Plenty of matches going to be going on. But I should also mention as well, if you want to support the Korean StarCraft League, !KSL in the chat, and you will get a link to the Patreon. KSL, of course, has a Patreon. It is fully funded by the community, for the community. So thank you so much for everyone that does contribute. And again, if you want to take part in supporting the Korean scene, if you want your own replay packs as well from these tournaments, then you can gain that by that Patreon. I'm bringing this up very quickly just because there was an announcement recently. KSL was a weekly for a long time for its first year. This is our first year of Korean StarCraft League. It's been very successful. We even had extra funds initially for a KSL Summer Slam. But the support has been waning a little bit. It has been waning, and it was recently announced that because of the reduced funds in the Patreon, this will no longer be a weekly tournament. This will be a bi-weekly tournament. So instead, it's going to be every 2 weeks. Which, makes sense. Initially there was a lot of hype, and now kind of some of the hype has died down, some of the support has waned, and, hopefully we can get back up to that kind of weekly status, but we'll see. Regardless, the KSL will go on, whether in weekly or bi-weekly form, it'll be there. It will be there, and the next KSL is in 2 weeks as a result, not next week. So it's a little bit bittersweet, definitely, but it's fine. We will go on, and again, we do have a lot of love for all the supporters in the chat. As we're getting into this, so far it's going to be a 2-gate double Adept opener here from Classic. It's going to be a 2-gate double Stalker opener out of NightMare. So very similar openers when it comes to the build of choice, but the units are quite different here, as NightMare is going to be having a more robust start to this game. Classic going for the Robo in the main. Oh, show us the third gateway. The beginnings of potentially a 1-base all-in from a Classic. I'm here for the aggression. I'm ready to wake up this lovely Saturday morning. As the Adepts are moving out, the Adepts have been spotted, they've been scouted, they will shut down the probe. And behind this, again, with this fast Robo, we can gain access to fast immortal production, more importantly, a fast reward prism to reinforce across the map. And again, I'm waiting for the third gateway. There it is. Third gateway's on the way. 1-base all-in. 1-base all-in from a Classic. It's all or nothing from our red Protoss player. Meanwhile, NightMare back at home is in the dark. He is unaware of what's going on because he opened up double Stalker, because he did not open up Sentry or Adept. He has no way of scouting. There we go. Sentry now on the way, but it's a very late Sentry opener here from NightMare. We'll see if he can come on, as the Adepts are going to be threatening a shade across the map. Shield battery is on the way. Again, NightMare is expanding. NightMare is exposing himself, and Classic is here to punish him, as the Adepts are going to be threatening shades here towards that natural. If possible, sniping these sentries would be ideal, as NightMare is still unawares as to how aggressive Classic is being. Here we go. The Prism is on the way. Stalker production is continuing. You see Classic is Adepts are being called out, so they're going to be zoned away here towards the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Prism has arrived, and here we go. We are pushing. Classic is pushing right through the center. NightMare is still in the dark. We do have those sentries with hallucinations. NightMare hasn't been skipping warp-ins. He has a decent Stalker army. He has a shield battery. He will soon have an overcharge. But the power of the Prism means that we can actually bypass the shield battery. We can go straight into the main. We can go straight into the main base instead. We have options. Here we go. It's going to be a Blink follow-up here from NightMare, but can Blink even finish this game? Stalker's ferrying into the main base, and again, NightMare, he doesn't see, he doesn't know. He does not see. Hallucination now is coming in, but such a late scout from NightMare. Now he realizes, oh, it's an all-in. Now he knows, and the army has already arrived. They're going straight onto that pylon. Big force field on top of the ramp. Overcharge is within range, forcing a recall into the main base as well. NightMare going to be bypassing that wall. Gets into the main as well. There is no shield battery. Boys, they're being pulled. They have to be. And so far, NightMare, can he hold on? He's getting on top of the prism. The warp prism is going to go down. Big cancellation of the warp in. And Classic is going to tap out. GG gets called. NightMare holds and takes game number 1. GG. GG, well played. It was a cheeky move for Classic to go for the force field on the ramp, but really quick reaction there from NightMare to recall into his own main base to be able to get past that force field. And in the end, again, very important that even though NightMare didn't scout, even though he didn't know what was happening, he wasn't skipping warp-ins, he had a decent stalker-based army, and he was able to react well enough to shut down the prism, shut down the all-in. GG. GG, very well played here. NightMare going to be taking a lead in this series, and it's a best of 3. One more win is all he needs. Again, on paper, I should talk about the players. On paper, Classic is the stronger player. You know, I would say that he is more well-rounded. When it comes to some of these other matchups, I would give the edge to Classic. But specifically in PvP, this is where NightMare thrives. NightMare, we've seen him beat Hero, we've seen him beat Creator, we've seen him beat Classic before as well. So this is more back and forth. I expect an ace match, and again, even if we get that far, could go either way. But here we go, spawning in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn. We have the red Protoss player representing Twisted Minds, struggling in game 1 to pull off that one base all-in. Looking to fight back. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the blue Protoss player representing himself, currently teamless, but deserving to be on a team. So again, keep your eye out, and if you're a team owner, consider him, as he's an amazing player. South Green Protoss, NightMare. Here we go. The PvPs will continue. Now we're loading into Oceanborn, a very small map. Short rush distance by ground does mean that aggressive play can be favored on a map like this. We have seen a lot of proxies, a lot of all-ins on or take place on Oceanborn, but we'll see. We'll see if Classic commits. We'll see if NightMare turns the tables on Classic and NightMare instead goes for a one-base all-in. It's possible. It is possible. Again, NightMare only needs one more, uno más, to advance on into the next round. Classic looking to fight back. Meanwhile, we have a probe being sent out. Likewise, Classic going for his own probe scout. And the goal of these scouts are to get a read on the second pylon placement, to make sure that everything is where it should be. Uh-oh. Hello? Monsieur Probe, we are not scouting. We are chilling here in the center of the map, and the second pylon has been thrown down. NightMare is going to be committing, and this is going to be a really interesting proxy location. Doesn't look ideal for a proxy Stargate. Could be a robo or it could be a fake, as we are going for a scout. Okay. So Classic knows. He knows that the pilot is missing. He's fully aware that something is wrong. Little does he know, it is a fake proxy pilot. There's nothing really committed to it. And as a result, Classic has to send out a second probe to scout. So this is going to be a little bit of an inefficient opener at a Classic. He does get eyes on the probe. That is going to give him a bit of a tell on where the pylon could be. As he is checking, and he will scout. Very nicely done here. Very early scout from Classic. He does come across the pylon. He is now aware that it's a fake. And now he can focus on his own game. There we go. Does have confirmation. Meanwhile, NightMare gets into the main base. Does get eyes on the two pylons. Is aware that everything is looking as it should for Classic. We have our sentry follow-up, and we're getting into our game. Probe is killed. It was double adept once again from Classic, so he's going to be zooming across the map. Goes for the expansion. We have a longer game. Meanwhile, NightMare, never mind. So Classic is going for a 2-gate opener into an expansion. Meanwhile, NightMare throws out, it isn't a proxy, but it is a one base all-in. That's a robo, that's a gateway. One base all-in here out of NightMare. We should be seeing a warp prism and continued stalker production. The turns have been tabled. Fun fact, this is the same build that Classic did in game 1. Now it's been reversed, and now it's going to be used on Classic instead. Now it's going to be on Classic to get a read of what's going on. We do have Adepts threatening a shade. We should be able to wall off in time as we get eyes on the lack of expansion. Robo is on the way. Classic, he does recognize how much danger he's in. Doesn't know what's coming, but, I mean, he sees the lack of expansion. So he knows that something is wrong. With this Robo, Immortal production. We have a second pylon in the main base. Shield battery on the low ground. So far, no hallucination scouts yet. So Classic is still a little bit in the dark, but even though he doesn't know what's coming, again, he's preparing very well. Second shield battery on the way, soon to be an overcharge. Of course, defensive immortals, or a war prism to juggle, to micro. So far, Classic is preparing. Looking at the units tab, NightMare, he has 9 stalkers compared to the 3 of Classic. Good force fields. Oh, and he barely gets 1. 1 stalker goes down. It did cost a lot of force fields though, bear that in mind. It was a good pick off trading energy for units. But here we go, the Prism has arrived. We're reinforcing. NightMare is committed. Classic, he starts up his first Immortal. It's halfway done. The Immortal is on the way. NightMare pushing in. He wants to focus on those sentries. Gets 1. So far, good juggling as well, keeping his stalkers alive. Oh, not losing anything yet. Would you have the overcharge? Despite it, we can 2-shot. Yeah, we can 2-shot these stalkers. They're going down one after the other. We're down to 2 stalkers. We're down to only 2. The overcharge buying some time. The Immortal has arrived. And with the arrival of the Immortal, NightMare is being forced back. Again, this army is so battered, so bruised, so low. Classic is maybe overextending. We're pretty far out. Yeah, NightMare, he can take a fight. Again, there's no shield battery to support. The force fields are thrown down. We want the Immortal. Up. We're going for the dive on the Immortal. Sentry does fall. Shield batteries are running out of energy. And the Immortal is going to get shut down just barely. Did survive quite some time. A second Immortal arrives as well. And once again, Classic barely holds. I was concerned that Classic was overextending, and he did lose an Immortal as a result. But now with the second Immortal, he has more than enough. He can fight this back. Once again, we need to calm down. I mean, oh my god, Classic. Ay. Again, really good juggling here out of NightMare. He wants to chase this down. He does trigger the shields. He does trigger the shields on that Immortal. Once again, he's going for a dive. Another Immortal pops out just in time as well. We have the overcharge. And it looks like Classic, yeah, he has held. The longer this goes on, the better it is for Classic. The Prism goes down, and that's going to be it at this point. NightMare, he has run out of steam. He's got another wave of reinforcements. He almost broke Classic. He almost did kill him. He was so close to breaking this natural base. But the Immortals, every single time they came out just in time. NightMare still committed. Did go for his own Immortal. He's rebuilding that War Prism. He is still doubling down. Can he somehow catch these Immortals of Classic? He's going for the dive, but it's a numbers game at this point, and the numbers in favor of Classic. Behind this, he's up in workers, up in economy, up in bases. Overcharge is soon to reset. 3 Immortals now. NightMare, the only chance that NightMare really has at this point is if Classic splits up his army. If NightMare is able to catch the Stalkers on their own, or the Immortals on their own. This is another way. We do go for a wave of Adepts. We're going into the main. NightMare, he's looking to cripple the economy of Classic. And he's going to attempt to transition out of this. Adepts are on the way, but the Prism got scouted. The Prism was seen, and Classic is getting in position. Yeah, Classic, he denies the Prism. Behind this, we're continuing Immortal production. The other thing to bear in mind is that there is no blink, so sentries and force fields could slice up the army and allow for a better fight for NightMare. As he moves out, here comes the Immortal drop into the main base. We're going for the workers that we barely have. The boys are being pulled, the probes are going down. We can't afford to lose any of these workers at this point, and we're going for a massive shade across the map. We have Adepts. We can kill workers, potentially. And there's that recall back home. 12 workers went down. NightMare down to 10 probes. And the wall is up. Classic looking even more solid at this point. NightMare trying to figure out a way to make this work. Goes to the Immortals into the main. Is going to be able to pick off a pylon. Does get a pylon in the end. Can threaten a shade towards the natural. Again, with force fields, there's a world where maybe he can force field the ramp and again cut the army in half. But just like the last game, Classic can also recall to either base. The depths are denied, and here we go. It's all or nothing for NightMare. The shields are triggered on these Immortals. And Classic, he is holding. There is still potential here, a little bit. Once again, their shade is denied. I love how active Classic is being with his War Prism to like juggle between his bases. You can see Classic rotating over. We do go for the force field. Half the army is stuck in the main base. We're going into the main. We're going for the dive. But again, we're in position so far. We have Immortals. We have the high ground as well. We're collapsing on this from behind. And Classic getting a full surround on this army. Again, initially, NightMare almost pulled this off. But the Immortals are going down. There's just too much firepower here from a Classic. GG gets called. And Classic ties up the series 1-1. We are going to the ace match. GG. GG, well played. Whew. Again, NightMare was close. He was very close to breaking that natural base. We had some really nice juggling and really nice micro from NightMare, keeping his Stalkers alive. But again, the all-in was shut down with the arrival of the Immortals. And a big reason for this is, remember, even before Classic scouted what was happening, even before he realized what was going on, he went for a robo. Very fast robo from Classic, which meant very fast Immortals just in time to defend. If the Immortals were even 5 seconds later, then Classic would have been in a much worse position, and he may have died. He may have died then and there to the all-in. So again, the Immortals were clutch every single time, and with that, Classic does hold. And now we're getting into game number 3, the ace match. It all ends here. It all ends on hard lead. Now, game 1, Classic all-in. Game 2, NightMare all-in. In game 3, do we both all-in, or do we both play macro? We'll see. we'll see, Fabi. We'll see. As here we go, spawning in the top left-hand corner of hard lead, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the red Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the blue Protoss player from South Korea, representing himself currently teamless. It is NightMare. Catching up in the chat. I love you, CranKy Ducklings. Always watch your streams, because that way I can support a whole team and one that does a lot for the scene. Thank you so much for everything you do. Oh, thank you. We do appreciate it. We do what we can. You know, whether it's casting, we host our own tournaments, we try to support our own players as well. You know, we still have Dolan, we still have Babby Dolan, as well as Eric. So, yeah, thank you so much. We do appreciate the support. Always. Thank you. And I hope you enjoy the content. See in the chat, will there be a 2024 GSL? Is Patreon still charging its patrons? Patreon is still charging its patrons, that is true. I don't think we have confirmation. Yet on what the season will look like. We're just waiting for an announcement. But I think we all assume that because the Patreon is successful, that GSL will continue. But that's also an assumption, so bear that in mind. It is likely that GSL will continue, but not confirmed. Here we go. Classic going to be going for a 2-gate opener here back at home. Likewise, NightMare also going for a 2-gate opener as well. This time, no proxy pylon. We do have our second pylon here for NightMare in the main, second pylon in the main base for Classic as well. So there's no proxies. Now, as we have already seen this series, just because there's no proxies doesn't mean it's not going to be an all-in. That is always available. That is always on the table. There we go. Adepts are on the way. Double Adept from Classic, double Adept from NightMare. Both players opting to be aggressive The way this works is the Adepts are going to be shading across the map. They do get across the map a little bit faster than Stalkers, of course, and that means that they can get some scouting information and also threaten and maybe even get some worker kills. As 2 Adepts do one-shot workers. Ooh, we're going double Adept into a 3rd and 4th Adept, and this usually means that we're going to be seeing a 5th and 6th Adept as well. So NightMare committing to Adepts. Ooh, going for, yeah, Stargate opener behind this. So this is all about getting economic damage. We have Adepts to kill workers, we have Oracles to kill workers. Now this is not an all-in. NightMare will be expanding, but it's a late expansion compared to Classic. That is why these Adepts and Oracles need to kill workers, because NightMare is going to be slightly behind in the economy if he doesn't. Meanwhile, there we go. There is the 5th and 6th Adept across the map. Classic likewise committing to additional Adept production, going into his own natural base. So Classic's opener is a little bit more economic, but committing to Adepts nonetheless. Will we commit to the shade? Classic, a bit of a misstep here. We'll be losing one of his Adepts. Ooh, we'll lose one, but the other will slip in. We get a full scout as well. Classic, he gets eyes on the Stargate as well as the Oracle that's on the way. He knows. He now is fully aware of what's going on, and behind this, shield battery is on the way, Stalkers being warped in. The likelihood of this Oracle getting damage done is very low. On top of that, Classic going for his own Stargate. It is quite later compared to his opponents, but the Stargate is on the way. And with that, we can start up Phoenix production or our own Oracles. Meanwhile, the wall is not a wall. Oh, Classic, a bit out of position. We do shade in, and probes are going down. The shield battery can protect against the Oracles, but not against the Adepts. Oh, this is becoming too much. 7, 8 worker kills, soon to be 9, soon to be 10. And this is getting out of hand. This is getting out of control already. The Adepts just getting far too much. 11 probes go down at the same time. It looks like Classic also slips into the main base. He also does slip in. He gets 8 worker kills. Suddenly, this isn't as impressive for NightMare as we're not done. Classic shading into the main will be shut down. As the dust does settle, NightMare is still ahead in the economy. Still has the Oracles as well. He's going to be shading in for a second time. Doesn't commit. Does not commit. NightMare does invest into that Oracle. Meanwhile, Classic making a Phoenix back at home to defend. Classic down to 17 probes, NightMare down to 24. So NightMare still maintains a worker lead. Did a great job crippling the economy. Oh, the Oracle is going to be chased down. Adepts have arrived. And we can deny mining at the natural, but we cannot get into the main. Not anymore. Revelation does tag the Phoenixes. And Classic is continuing Phoenix production. Things initially were looking good for Classic with all of his scouting, but alas, the Adepts, they got into the main base, and now NightMare has a massive advantage. Adepts, they do shade away. Behind this, NightMare, he's just establishing himself, working on Stalkers, working on Blink, probing up. Again, NightMare, he's chilling. He has a good economy. He's getting further ahead. Classic, he needs to come back in some way, shape, or form. He has potential to maybe kill some workers with these Phoenixes. He can catch and shut down a couple of units as well. Even the Oracle, he does dip into the main. Does kill a worker, does kill 2. Pretty good damage. And with this, he's evening up the worker count. 3 probe kills. Phoenixes are taking a lot of hits. Blink is revealed. We do get 1. 1 Phoenix for 3 probes. Adepts, they continue to threaten shade. We do commit into the natural. We shade in. We get another 2 probes. NightMare maintains his worker lead. And now we're pushing. Now we have a big timing on 2 bases with a Blink. And NightMare, he doesn't want to allow Classic back in this game. Looking at the army tab here, NightMare has almost double the Stalker count. The downside is that NightMare doesn't have a War Prism, and he doesn't have a reinforcing pylon. Yeah, he's taking a 3rd. So he's moving out, he's going to apply some pressure. He has Blink over his opponents, but he cannot break Classic. Yeah, the Immortal has arrived just in time. Classic, good concave here at his natural. Working on a forge for +1. So we have both our players kind of taking different routes. Classic, he knows he's behind when it comes to Blink, so he started Immortals. Immortals, they can make up for a Blink deficit. Likewise, he has faster +1, so his Stalkers will be a little bit better upgraded. The big Stasis! Oh my god! Massive Stasis here on the army, and that means that this Immortal is exposed. The Stalkers, they do push in. Yeah, we dive on those Stalkers. 1, 2 of them go down. We go for the Sentries, we go for the Phoenixes. Stasis is about to run out, but we dive on top of the Immortal as well. Big overextension, and it is going to go down. Massive pickoffs. Again, the Stasis may have just won NightMare this game. As NightMare, he shuts down so many units almost for free. The Sentries, the Stalkers, the Immortals. Another Immortal has arrived. We can one-shot. We can one-shot Stalkers. Oh my god. Once again, the Stasis. Trying to lure Classic out into the open. Don't no longer have enough to one-shot Stalkers. Behind this, NightMare getting further ahead. He's fully saturated at his third base. Ay, ay, ay. Classic coming in, trying to harass, but we are in position. Yeah, the Adepts have been spotted. Do shade into the natural. Probes are going down. There's no way out for these Adepts. 4 worker kills. Not bad. Not bad at all here from Classic. Meanwhile, NightMare is reinforcing. So, bearing in mind, NightMare didn't take his third gas. He's only... didn't take his fourth gas. He's only on 3 gases. So, he's going to be heavily reliant here on charge lots. Zealots are being morphed in. And we have a big timing here coming up with +1 and charge. Here we go. NightMare is pushing with a massive amount of army. We may have Immortals, but that's the purpose of these Zealots. Zealots do an amazing job at tanking Immortal shots. Yeah, they're going to be providing a great buffer here for the Stalker army. We're diving on top of the army. No shield battery. GG gets called. The writing was on the wall, and NightMare will take the series 2-1, taking down a Classic. GG. Whew. GG, well played. NightMare popping off here tonight. In game 1, he showed off his defensive prowess. He defended and deflected the all-in of Classic, and here in game number 3, it was more of a back and forth. Things got very chaotic, but the big game-winning move for NightMare was the shade into the main. Remember, he got, I think it was 4 or 5 Adepts shaded into the main base of Classic. Classic wasn't able to wall off in time, and with that, his economy was crippled. He went down to, I think it was 12 probes. He went down to a very low worker count. He was doing some counter damage across the map, but nowhere near as much as what NightMare was accomplishing. So again, Classic was crippled economically from the start of the game. He was attempting to recover, and he almost did, but then the second big moment was the Stasis trap. The Stasis outside of the natural. It caught every single one of his Stalkers, exposed his Immortals, exposed his Phoenixes, and NightMare just picked Classic apart. GG, well played. Very well done here as NightMare will be advancing on to the semifinals. GG.